Today's young people are over-entertained and under-challenged, and that's why they're spiritually bored. We've forgotten the importance of this battle and have become so comfortable, so complacent, and not realize that, hey, there's a battle raging on. This is not a time for a picnic. But so many of us seem to be having a picnic right now. We're gonna fight for what's right and fight for the hope that only comes through Jesus. We are all created with a mission and purpose to be bold, to share Jesus with our communities, with where God has put us, and we have to steward that well. Moms can reach moms, business people can reach business people, teachers can reach teachers. We're all positioned in a unique zone where we can carry out the Great Commission in our life. And this is every believer's job. This isn't just the job for the professional evangelist to come in and reach people.
Hey friends, welcome back to Dangerously Normal. My name is Dave Meikle. The idea behind Dangerously Normal is we want to inspire and encourage and equip you to be the hands and feet of Christ, to step into the unique calling that God has placed on your life to go out into your world. Now recently I was down in Canberra at a conference with Youth for Christ, and I met a young man named Jordan Whitmer, and he has an incredible story of how God's used him, where at the age of 16 he started a movement called How to Life movement, which is now spread across the United States of America and even across the world. So I hope you'll be inspired by this conversation today. We'll get straight into it right now. Hey guys, welcome back to Dangerously Normal. I've got today with me a special guest, Jordan Whitmer from the United States. Now Jordan, you run an amazing ministry called How to Life movement, and I'd love to talk to you a little bit about today, about what it is that you're doing, and hopefully encourage our listeners to get outside the church and to put into action the things that God's placed on their heart as well. So I thought maybe you could sort of start off by introducing yourself and telling us a little bit about How to Life movement.
Well, thank you for having me on here today, Dave. Excited to share some. But yeah, my name is Jordan Whitmer. I am 21 years old. I'm from the United States. I am a passionate member of Generation Z, or Z, passionate about reaching my generation for Christ. There's so many teenagers around the world today that are desperately in need of hope, and as we know, the only true hope comes through Jesus Christ, and that is the message of the gospel is needed amongst teens, and my passion is to help spread that message. And 5 years ago started the How to Life movement, a movement of teenagers reaching teenagers for Jesus through student-led outreach events, and it's been taken off after starting with just a bunch of high school students around my dining room table in the state of Arkansas in the US, where I'm from. I and some of my friends were praying, what could we do to reach our friends for Christ? And we said, hey, let's plan a student-led event, given how much teens listen to other teens more than pretty much any other voice in their life. Normally that's a really bad thing. In this case, we thought that would be a good thing to have teens sharing the gospel with their friends. And slowly but surely, we planned an event and had over 750 people that attended a youth outreach event led by teens to reach teens. And this event made a huge impact. And that night, teens led worship. Teens shared their stories about the difference that Christ has made in their life. And we finished that event with a clear presentation of the gospel, and had about 75 young people that responded saying, yes, I want to follow Jesus, or I want to rededicate my life to Jesus, and just kind of renew my walk with him. And because there's the hopelessness and the brokenness in Gen Z often makes Gen Z so ready for Jesus. And when they hear the gospel clearly, it's so powerful. In just 5 years, How to Life as a movement has spread now to 5 countries around the world, 75 events as of right now in 19 US states, in 5 countries around the world, including around Europe and North America and the UK, Germany, France, and Mexico. And in each of these places, there's local teens that are rising up. It's not me coming to town and doing an evangelism crusade. It's young people planning an event to reach their friends for Christ, their people that they go to school with, and bringing the hope of the gospel to them.
So how old were you when you started this?
I was 16 years old when
16.
How to Life started in my hometown in Arkansas in the U.S. And yeah, 5 years ago, I was just 16.
Yeah, it's amazing. And you've been speaking to me about Gen Z and some of the stats that Gen Z are facing, and even just some of the stats around Gen Z and even their biblical understanding. And can you share some of the stats with us? I know it's American stats, but it's pretty much across the world.
I think it applies across the world
a
lot more than we would think, and especially amongst our Western countries, especially amongst the UK, US, and Australia. There's a lot in common in Europe. But the statistics in the US from the survey group called Barna, kind of the chief survey group in the US, they came out with the results that only 4% of teens in the US today know and have a biblical worldview, meaning they know just the core tenets of what it means to follow Christ, and they believe that. And
4%.
4%, that's less than 1 in every 20 teens that you meet on the street. 4 out of every 100 teens that you meet in the US, in this supposedly really Christian country. It's not actually that Christian these days, especially amongst the next generation, when it really comes down to the nitty-gritty of what does Gen Z believe. And the reality is that they, I believe it's 35% of teens in the US are openly atheist, agnostic, or nothing in particular. And that's a 5% increase from the millennial generation on that side of the spectrum. And there's the majority of teens truly don't know what it means to follow Christ and to have that relationship, and that's very concerning. And another statistic is that, and this statistic's been constant for the last good little while, it's that of anyone that comes to know Christ in their life, about 75% of people who come to know Jesus do so before the age of 18, which means there's an important urgency to target reaching young people, because that is when, statistically speaking, they will find Christ. The majority of us believers find Jesus at a young age, and that's how we spend that lifetime with him. Whereas if someone graduates high school at age 18 and they don't know Christ, statistically speaking, they're going to spend the rest of their life in eternity without Jesus. And since teens listen to teens more than pretty much any other voice in their life, we believe that teens sharing the gospel with their friends through student-led outreach initiatives and events like How to Life and rising up and doing something is very important and urgent, maybe more now than ever before, as we look to, as we've shared, win the battle for Generation Z.
Yeah, and we really see this generation as well. They really are a YouTube generation. They're getting all of their education from Hollywood. They're getting it from YouTube, and even, like as you say, like teens listening to teens, like the YouTubers out there who have built platforms of influence through influencing their own peers. And so you've got this generation now of young people who are growing up idolizing these YouTube stars, and being influenced that way. And it really is, like, it's demonstrated from that perspective of how influence is coming from their own generation. And so the church really needs to take hold of that idea of empowering our young people to, to not have to leave it to the person who's on a stage, but to their peers.
No, there's that premise of knowing that peers do listen to peers across. And this applies to every generation. This is not just a teen thing. 20-somethings will listen to 20-somethings. Baby boomers will listen to baby boomers. Gen X to Gen X, millennials to millennials. People that have a similar tribe, as we'll often say, that they run with in life. Believers that are in a certain situation are divinely positioned in many cases to reach those around them for Christ. And that's what we've seen. And unfortunately, their peer pressure, as I already shared, is normally a really bad thing. That leads to all sorts of negative spiraling effects. In this YouTube generation, there is this prevalence of social media and influence, and people gaining a platform and wanting to use their platform to influence, and the majority of influencers are not usually the best of influences, and that's what's so also very just negative. The reality of how social media is really not good for many people when it comes to their emotional well-being, and that plays into the whole how Gen Z is more emotionally broken probably than most previous generations because of living in this toxic environment of social media and the negatives. We've seen social media be a good thing for us in some cases, though, or in a lot of cases, because of that's how we've met teens around the world. Social media actually has been, though, the way that this movement has spread. Teens hearing about this movement in the UK, for example, teens from the UK heard about How to Life through social media and said, hey, could we do events here in England and in Germany? Hey, heard about you on YouTube, found you here on Instagram, could we do an event in Germany? And all across the United States in different places, social media is a tool by which we're meeting new people, and that's some really cool stuff that's happening. And so it's a very unique world that we live in, but it's very important for us to be strategic and to come together and to prayerfully figure out, how do we navigate this world that we're in? How do we use our platforms to reach others for Christ, regardless of what age we are? How do we use the tools of the time, like social media, to for what's good rather than what's tearing people down? And those are some of the sorts of questions we're having to wrestle with these days.
Yeah. You share with me your grandfather's quote. Can you unpack that a little bit and obviously share the quote?
The quote that we're mentioning here, my grandfather, Ron Hutchcraft, lifelong with Youth for Christ and different ministries around the world, he has said before that today's young people are over-entertained and under-challenged, and that's why they're spiritually bored.
Wow.
And that's a very powerful statement, realizing that. And how does this apply to today? I went to a public high school in the United States not long ago. There are so many clubs, so many things, people that are finding ways to apply themselves and to make a difference and do things. And today, there's so many young people rising up around the world for many causes, whether it's political activism causes or climate change or different things. Young people want to rise up, but how often does the church really challenge its young people to rise up and to lead boldly and to make a difference? That just doesn't usually tend to be the reality.
Well, talking about just the way that young people are getting so involved with political and climate change. It's a perfect example. You've got Greta Thunberg. A young person who is mobilizing a movement of young people behind a cause, and they're so passionate about it. And it's just the perfect picture of a Gen Z. They distrust the older generations. And yet they want to make a change. They want to be. They want to take they want to get behind the cause. And so we want to be able to empower our young people to make a difference for God's kingdom and for good and for making the world a better place.
Young people today want a mission. They want a cause. They want something to be behind. Gen Z is very much cause-driven, maybe more than a lot of other previous generations. And because young people in the world, they feel the weight of the world. They feel the issues and the anxiety, the suicide rates increasing, the depression, all of these negative aspects of what it means to be a teenager in the world today. They feel that negativity. They see the stuff, whether it's climate change needs or the political polarization in the world. There's people are like, where is this future going? What does the future hold? And therefore they're rallying behind anything. And but that 4% of teens that do know Jesus in the U.S. and want to make a difference, my challenge to them and to any Christian teen around the world is that we, as Generation Z, are divinely positioned to make a difference for the greatest cause on planet Earth, and that is that Jesus Christ died for us so that we can have eternal life with Jesus. When he conquered death, he conquered all of these issues that we deal with today. He made it possible to where we can have life, we can have hope, we can. That's what the gospel is all about, is finding that hope that comes through Christ, the life that comes only through Jesus and through no other cause. We're not going to find fulfillment in the causes of this world, but we will find fulfillment in Jesus. And that's my heartbeat, is that a young generation, a global generation of teens would rise up to reach the planet for Christ, and how powerful and amazing that could be.
Yeah, it's amazing. Walk us through briefly what it is to put on a How to Life event.
Yeah.
Like, so say there's somebody out there, wherever they are in the world, either in Australia or somewhere else, and they're like, oh man, I want to do this. Like, how would somebody put on an event or build a team? Like, what's it look like to actually, for a young person to go, I want to get involved. What do I do next?
To get involved in the How to Life movement globally, in any country, in any place, where we've been slowly but surely, and in fact very quickly in the last little bit of time, been having quite a bit of international expansion with new groups emerging around the world. If someone out there is a teenager, or they know a Christian teenager who's like, hey, I want to be a part of reaching those of my generation that don't know Jesus, they can get involved with How to Life by helping plan an event. Reaching out to How to Life on Instagram is the best way to get started, because we don't let just anyone plan an event. But if someone's qualified, which a lot of young people are actually, then we will work with a Christian teen to help mobilize something in their country. We haven't had any events here in Australia yet, but we very much hope to, and have had people from Australia reach out, several in fact, and inevitably I think we are on the brink of having events here very probably within the next year or two even. Once the people emerge, that process moves quickly. If someone wants to help start that process, they can reach out on Instagram to @HowToLifeMovement. That's where the majority of teens today have Instagram, so they know how to find that, and that goes for anyone. Anyone can follow How to Life Movement on Instagram. There's also a Facebook page and a few things as well. There's a website, howtolifemovement.com. Someone can email us on there and start the conversation. And once we start that conversation, we can pray about, hey, what could this look like in this area, and then it comes about by mobilizing other Christian young people. It usually starts with one, but then that one pulls together a group of people to say, hey, we're going to work together to reach our community. And a team of one often becomes a team of 5, which becomes a team of 20, which becomes a team of sometimes 30 to 40, 50 people that are Christian teens in an area, saying, let's come together, let's win this battle for our generation locally and wherever that is. And we work to help put a date on the calendar, a date, time, location, venue, place, things, and through this process, teens are leading. They're learning to pray more. They're learning to get in God's Word more, to rely on Him, and then the event itself is actually an evangelistic event, sharing the gospel with their friends who might not ever step foot in a church or a religious event, but they would when it's done by their friends. When does that ever happen? Getting to hear from a student-led event that's all Generation Z teens planning an event to reach other Generation Z teens, that is very, very unique and powerful, and that's often the draw for a How to Life event. Hearing from their friends, and people are very excited to come to something like this. And you find that do you find that people that come to the events then are more likely to listen as well? I know, you can sometimes look around a church and everyone's on their phones, they're disconnected
Like, what's your experience from your events?
How to Life events, kids are rarely on their phones. They are clued in, listening to their friends, because this is real talk about life. And Gen Z wants authenticity, wants what's genuine, wants, we don't need anything that is dancing around the truth, dancing around the stuff, because kids are like, look, we live in a very life or death generation right now, and a lot of kids are walking in a very, just a deadness, it seems, and they want that hope, and one of our recent events had a theme: the gospel changes everything. They just put it right out there. People knew this was a religious event, but kids are like, I do want to give that a shot. I want to give the gospel a shot. I want to give Jesus a shot, or at least hear a little, what do these guys have to say? Let's at least hear what they have to say. And
it's kind of like the option generation. It's like, we've got so many options before us. And so, these young people, they're used to having options, and they don't want to miss out on the best option. It's the whole FOMO thing, It's like, I want to make sure I'm getting the best option, and so that they're willing to actually try. They're trying the bad stuff, so they're obviously going to be willing to try the good stuff as well.
Absolutely. Gen Z is often willing to listen to their friends, and that's what's so remarkable about this sort of premise of teens rising up to reach their friends, and it truly is so powerful and amazing what can happen.
So I believe that the church is really facing a battle. But sometimes, the reason for this podcast is to encourage and inspire the church to get outside of the building and get in the battle, to go all in, because there's this really targeted attack against not just young people, but all people. It's not isolated to just the young people, but obviously your ministry is really targeting Gen Z. But what would you say to the wider church to encourage them to get involved in building something that they've been called into?
Sure. Each and every one of us as followers of Jesus are called to a higher standard, and are called to share the gospel and to do something to make a difference. A lot of people make the Great Commission the Great Omission, and it's like, we've kind of forgotten about that. We're supposed to go and make disciples, but that's not an option. We need to, in obedience to Christ, fulfill the Great Commission. A lot of people are like, oh, Jordan, that's just amazing what you're doing with How to Life. It's like, well, we're just trying to be obedient here, and all of us need to be doing this sort of thing. This isn't just, oh, wow, you must be so excited and people must be so proud of you. And it's like, yes, but this is way bigger than just doing good stuff. This is about being obedient to what God has put us here on earth to do. And each and every one of us need to find a way to rise up and to share about this hope, and not just be like, oh, I know Jesus, I'm good, peace out, I'm going to take a break and just kind of coast the rest of life. No, we in the United States, we have a term called the American dream, and Australia would be very similar. Europe would be very similar, having a very uncannily similar. I want my good life. I want to live my life my way, make a lot of money. In the U.S., people want their white picket fences around their little property and their nice, cozy, comfortable lifestyle, make money, raise kids, have a good life, retire young, play golf the rest of your life until you get old, and then you die. And that's what people live for, and that's a quite depressing reality, because first off, most people can't even achieve that. It's elusive, more now than ever before. And then for people that do achieve it, they even say, guys, it's a trap, it's empty, I feel so empty. They accomplished the whole world. Tom Brady, one of the NFL quarterbacks in the U.S., has won the Super Bowl 5 times, and he's even said, guys, there's some quote, I forgot what it is, but guys, I've made it to the top, and why do I still feel so empty? Something to that extent. And I think actor Jim Carrey even said, I wish that everyone could become rich and famous and powerful and get all this influence so they can know that it's not actually worth it. And it's like, really? That's what people say? And modern day King Solomons that acquire all this influence and wealth are like, why do I feel so empty? We are all created with a mission and purpose to be bold, to share Jesus with our communities, with where God has put us, and we have to steward that well, and to have a mission, and whatever that might be. It might be we often say, reach your tribe, reach the people who are like you, and because who's going to listen to if there's a mother who doesn't know Jesus, they might listen to another mother who does know Jesus, and moms can reach moms, business people can reach business people, teachers can reach teachers. We're all positioned in a unique zone where we can carry out the Great Commission in our life, and this is every believer's job. This isn't just the job for the professional evangelist to come in and reach people. More now than ever, we as just the everyday believers need to rise up and make a difference. This isn't something that we leave to the Instagram pastors to solve all this. This is something that we need to take up this battle, take up this fight, each and every one of us.
I think it's really time for the Christian celebrity, just this whole, we've got this obsession with Christian celebrities. I think it's time for this season of Christian celebrity to end, and for the season of the body to go, to go out and to get on the battlefield,
We don't need any more Christian celebrities. There's a ton of them. Most of them are American, and we just idolize these people and put them on a pedestal.
I love what they're doing. I love the platform that they've set for us and the teaching.
It's amazing stuff.
But when it gets to a point of idolization, and it's taking the place of you being on the battlefield, like it's time for us to take the mantle that those who have gone before us have created. This, there's so much amazing teaching, but the time of teaching is it's now we've got to take some of that. We've got to take it and actually put it into action. I think we were out just yesterday, and we came across a homeless girl, and it just struck me. It's time. Like, theology has its place, but the moment that theology takes over love, like love has to look like something. Like you actually have to go, am I willing to buy this person a meal or help them? Or, so in this case, we were able to buy her a milkshake and some food, and also give her some money to get some safe accommodation for a couple of nights, and share the gospel and share that there's hope, and unpack some of the lies that she had believed about herself. And it's that taking the theology that we've learnt, but never letting that overtake the love for the person that we walk past on the way to the coffee shop. You shared with me, or you shared with us the other night at the conference we're at, about this picture of a battlefield.
Yes.
I really want you to share that again for us, because I think that's a great way that we can bring this conversation to a close.
Sure. So in American history, in the 1860s, the United States had a civil war where the northern states, who were free states, anti-slavery, fought against the southern United States, which was entrenched in slavery, and slavery was a way of life. And it eventually, the U.S. tried to go on for years and years, tolerating free and slave states. We can make it work. Eventually, like, all right, can't do this anymore. There's going to be war. The war comes to a start in Virginia in the United States, and the northern and southern troops start to line up. But there's some other people that came out too, and it was just townspeople from Virginia who were like, guys, let's go have a picnic and watch these guys fight. They saw all this stuff happening, and literally there were people having a picnic when there's a war raging on down below. Yeah. How many of us as Christians are just having a picnic right now? Well, there's a battle raging on down below, and this is not time for a picnic. We've got to put away our picnic baskets and finally come out and say, guys, I'm going to fight. We're going to fight this battle. We're going to fight for what's right and fight for the hope that only comes through Jesus. And Satan loves that Generation Z, and Christians often are far from truly this mission. And when the church is taken off the field, then that's all that it takes to be like, all right, game over. And in many cases, our Western countries especially, and in many countries around the world, we literally at one point, Europe reached the whole world for Jesus almost, or helped share the gospel with a lot of the world. But now look at what's happened to Europe. Europe has become the dark continent spiritually. And the US and North America, not far behind. And Australia, not far behind. And this is so concerning that young people, or the countries of the world today, especially Western nations, used to be all about Jesus, but in all this, we've literally forfeited our own soul and said, okay, we've forgotten the importance of this battle and have become so comfortable, so complacent, and not realize that, hey, there's a battle raging on. This is not a time for a picnic. Yeah. But so many of us seem to be having a picnic right now.
Yeah, there's so much that we can learn from, as Western church. There's so much that we can learn from the persecuted church, the church that's in Iran, the church that's in China, these countries where they are not free. They're not as free as we are to walk down the road and share the gospel with someone. And yet the church is exploding because they've made that decision that we're not going to have a picnic in the midst of this battle. We're going to get involved. And so I really want to encourage everyone who's listening to check out How to Life. And they may not, you guys might not be of the age to start a How to Life, but you can start something yourself. There's something that God's placed on your life to do. And so I encourage you, please get off the picnic rug and into the battle. We have to be all in. So Jordan, thank you so much for stopping by, coming all the way to Australia.
Yes.
It's been great hearing from you, and I really believe that what you've said today is going to bless many people through this. So thanks for joining us.
Well, thank you, Dave. It's an honor to be here today.
Hey, thanks again for watching today's episode of Dangerously Normal. I hope you have come away from this conversation feeling inspired and encouraged, but more so, I hope that you're challenged. What has God been speaking to you about? What has God been placing on your heart for maybe weeks, for maybe months, for maybe years that you haven't yet stepped into? So I encourage you don't need to have all the answers. You just need to have obedience to step into it. So why don't you now go and plan that thing that God's been placing on your heart? Step into it today. Get started today. And let's go out there and share the hope of the world with our neighbors, with our friends, with our community. And I'll see you on the next episode.